Welcome back to Talkin Texas Forever, a Friday Night Lights podcast. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Liz.
And we're discussing season 5, episode 6, Swerve, written by Ron Fitzgerald and directed by Jonas Pete. Original air date, December 8th, 2010.
Swerve.
Swerve. You know, the first time watching it, I didn't pick up
Catch
on Tammy saying, "Did you really mean to swerve your car?"
I wouldn't have picked up on that unless you said it. So
Yeah. Takes a couple of times.
yeah, if I feel that way with most of the titles.
I know.
It's like they're very,
Yeah. There was one. I wish I could remember it. Oh, like hang on your rest on your laurels or something like that. Yeah. Anyway, in this episode, Julie goes to great lengths to avoid taking responsibility for her recent actions, and Vince is reunited with an old acquaintance, hoping to collect a debt. Kennard is back. Were you surprised to see him?
Well, no.
Yeah.
Because you told me last week that he was the quote was from Kennard, so I knew he was coming.
All right.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. All right. Well, before we get to him, let's start with Lion Talk. Coach is on the cover of a national high school football magazine with the headline Eric Taylor, Kingmaker.
Kingmaker. I'm sorry. What does this mean?
It's weird, right?
Molder of men
That
is what it
works.
should have said.
I agree.
Not Kingmaker.
Yeah. And of course, he's not impressed. He's not one to boast. And he's more preoccupied with the fact that, oh, remember the team branded themselves last week?
Yeah. I was like, what are they getting punished for?
It was a funny gag, though, because Stan gets them all in the bleachers, the whole team to get a talking to. And when Coach starts talking, they're all holding up the magazine.
Yeah, that was cute.
And even Jess is holding up the magazine as well.
Yeah.
It was cute. But because few of them branded themselves, he makes them run until they can't anymore.
Okay.
Something had to happen, right? Repercussions?
Yes.
Really? You don't think? What if parents found out? Do you think I feel like this would have been a bigger deal if we had nothing else to talk about and parents would be like, oh, you let an away game. First off, it's an away game and you let these kids go off on their own to a party and brand themselves.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
Whatever. But earlier we have a scene where Luke talks to Coach about TMU and Coach pretty much has to tell him like, hey, listen, TMU does not want you. They're interested in Vince.
Yeah, this was tough.
And they went through you to get to
Yeah, he told him all of that.
Well, Luke said, do not sugarcoat it for me. So
yeah, that's true. And Coach is like, I'm sorry that I didn't catch on to this sooner. Otherwise, obviously, he wouldn't have wanted them to go there and go through with it.
Yeah.
Right. I guess maybe he could have just been like, okay, Vince, you go.
Don't you think don't you think, because I feel like it's pretty clear, Coach has become more preoccupied with looking out for Vince than Luke.
Yeah.
And last season when Luke joined the team, Coach said, like, if you stick with me, I will get you a scholarship.
Right.
I feel like we haven't really seen him work.
Yeah,
for Luke.
He's prioritizing Vince.
Yeah.
And he is QB1.
Right.
So
I get it.
While we understand you should also have equal interest in all of your players, especially ones that are good enough to get a scholarship.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while Coach says, I let you down, I hope Coach goes back on his word and says, I will still help you and you will get into a good school.
And Luke is obviously upset and he talks to Vince about it. They're out on the bleachers and they're discussing plays with Hastings and Tinker's there. And it turns into this whole thing of like, wow, you stole my scholarship.
Right. And Vince is like, are you kidding?
I didn't.
I actually didn't.
And we get it, right? Because Luke is just upset. And so he drinks and then he goes to the Riggins house, which Billy is watching Tim's sizzle reel.
This is weird.
And he's crying while watching it when Luke knocks on the door looking for Becky. But also in the beginning of the episode, we see that Tim calls from jail. And Billy picks up and he's like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Are you okay? Like, I've been making the payments. So I'm assuming on the land.
Right. He says when you come back, that will still be yours.
Yeah.
So Tim is obviously either he's worried about the payments or he's notified that maybe there wasn't a payment. He's just worried.
Yeah. And also Billy's going through it. And when I was listening to Clear Eyes Full Hearts, when they were talking about this episode, Derek said to the writers, like, can we work a Tim storyline in this to make it more believable? Because we haven't seen him. We understand he's filming the movie, right?
Yeah.
Taylor Kitsch. But Billy is going through it with the fact of that his brother took the blame for everything.
Right.
So can we have at least a phone call or just show
right?
him
And
watching?
he's missing, and we need to fill the void. Like, it would be unrealistic if we didn't talk about Tim all the time. Like, Tim Riggins is Friday Night Lights, you know? Well,
yeah,
a huge player.
No, absolutely. And let's not forget that he took the blame for your stuff, Billy.
Right. So Billy would feel an immense amount of guilt all the time and wanted to talk to him all the time.
Right. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. So Luke, being drunk, is looking for Becky, and Billy notices this, and he's like, I'm not going to let you drive. So he brings him in. They hang out in the backyard, which I love this moment, but also we're giving him more alcohol.
Right. I also noticed that.
2 steps forward, 1 step back. Right?
Yeah, he's like, my little Tim, gotta give you some scotch or whatever.
Right? And so he tells Luke that, you know, you lost your heart. When's the last time you played this game just for fun? And you need to let out a war cry. And so Tim like gets on top of the porcelain toilet that's randomly in the Riggins backyard.
Right? What is that?
As one does have, and just screams. And then Luke is like, I'm gonna call TMU coach. So he calls him, and
TMU coach.
Yeah.
What a random phrase. TMU coach.
Well, he's drunk. So let me give him a piece of my mind. Screams into the phone. Billy screams into the phone.
That was very funny.
It was really funny.
It was very comical.
Yeah. When we get to game day, which we'll talk about in a little bit, coach is late. And so Billy ends up giving a speech leading the team off. And at first we're like, oh, great, here's Billy. It's going to be like comical and no one's going to like really take anything he's saying seriously. But he gives a good speech in like a Billy way, right?
Yeah, he did.
I know.
The coach was proud. He was a good speech.
He was proud. And they do end up winning. And Luke plays a great game. And he gets to sign the football at Buddy's and put it in the showcase, which go Luke. And then Billy tells Luke that he's going to take him under his wing. So here we go. And like you brought up a good point, and I don't even know why I didn't think about this, but Luke was studying under Tim.
Right. That was, you know, Tim was the one who created Force.
I know.
So there you go. And it's sweet. I like the Riggins taking in Becky and Luke. Like the kids that need help the most. While, they might not have all the answers, they still have some answers. Yeah. You know, they've had some more life under them. Right. So it's very sweet to watch.
Yeah, we have Becky shopping with Mindy and talking about boys, and Mindy brings up that cute farmer boy, Luke. And Becky tells her it's complicated. And then we have a scene where Becky goes to work with Mindy, watches Stevie while Mindy's at the landing strip. And Mindy drops like a wad of cash after her dance. I don't know what
I can't imagine. It looked like a lot of singles, but I can't imagine it was a lot of singles, you know?
Regardless, she dropped a wad.
Right. And it was very appetizing to Becky.
You cocked her eyes.
She was like, oh, maybe I should do this.
Maybe. We'll see. But then after the game, we're at Buddy's celebrating, and Mindy brings up Luke again, and then pretty much shoots down the idea of anything with Tim Riggins and Becky. Like,
I love
you need to let it go.
She was a straight shooter. Yeah. She was telling Becky what's up. The thing that nobody else could apparently could tell Becky. I know. Mindy said it. And I was so happy that they had this moment when she's like, girl, you need trust me when I tell you, Tim's never going to be with you, nor he's going to be with anyone else he ever batted his eyes at. Like, that's just Tim.
It's not going to happen. And so she grabs Luke and she's like, I don't know what's happening here. Y'all are hot. Y'all need to fuck. And there you go.
Awkward.
But we loved it. But I love when she's like, just use protection, mommy talk.
I loved it.
It was cute.
Yeah.
Cute. Julia's home.
What a mess.
What a mess. And of course, you know, Tammy and Eric, they just think she's home for the weekend doing laundry. So she goes to say goodbye. And she makes the decision to crash her car into a mailbox.
Full of bricks. A mailbox made out of bricks.
And as Mike said in the chat, no mortar. It just seems like a pile of bricks.
A pile of bricks that just fell apart. Didn't really, it didn't look like it damaged her car as much as it should have.
Yeah, and she tells Eric and Tammy that, oh, a dog ran out in the street, and they're like, it's okay. This is the best kind of accident. Like, everybody's okay.
Yeah.
I will drive you back to school. And
she's like, no.
Yeah. She's like, no, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do that. And Eric decides that he's just going to pay for the car and pay for the damage. When Tammy tries to talk to Julie about anything that has to do with college, like, what's going on? How is your studies? Boys? And she ends up telling Tammy, what do you think about this? Her coming out and saying it.
I was happy she got it off her chest. And Tammy was trying to be as non-partial as she was ever going to be, listening to her child when her child says, please don't get mad when I tell you this. And Tammy's like, okay.
Her face, she's like,
she's like, I'm like waiting for you to tell me, like, get like you're pregnant. Like, that's like the worst of it, right? At this age in college, your first semester. So like, she obviously didn't know what she was going to say. And so she was trying to stay calm and cool and collected. And I thought she handled it really well. And I'm happy that Julie got it out. And I hope, well, we'll continue with the conversation about how the parents reacted to this.
Okay. So obviously Tammy tells Eric. And Eric is like, I can't believe she slept with.
Well, at first he wants to kill him.
He wants to kill him.
Which was the right energy.
Sure. And Julie's like, I'm sorry. Tammy's like, Julie needs us right now.
Yes.
She went through this awful situation.
I was so happy.
I was like, okay.
They're reeling it in.
I'm liking the way we're handling it. Like, we're going to give Julie some time to breathe. And then that's when Eric decides, I'm going to pay for your car. And then once it's fixed, you're going to pay me back. And then you're going to go back to school.
Right. You're going back to school regardless. Like, end of discussion.
End of discussion.
And Julie's like, I literally cannot do that, though. I mean, she tells them okay, but inside she's like, I cannot move. I cannot move my feet to go into the car to go to school. Like, she cannot do it.
Right. And she has this conversation with Tammy about her decisions of like, maybe I rushed into this. Maybe I can go to community college. Maybe I need to travel Europe, which is like such a naive thing to say when you're 18, which I'm sure set her off like, oh, no, you're not running from your decisions and your responsibilities.
Right. I understand why Tammy was trying to talk her off the ledge, but also you need to realize that your kid literally has so much fear and anxiety and in her. So you got to go with that first. Like, you need to help your kid first and then be like, okay, well, let's talk about you not going back, or let's talk about me going to community. Like, we need to cool it off first.
Yeah.
And make sure that you're okay. And like, what do we do now?
Like, in a sound mind of ready to go back. And so
she can't just go back.
Just go back. And so the car gets fixed. And Eric, like
bye-bye,
drags her. Like, literally is trying to push her out the door physically. And then Tammy screams, Eric, like, let her go. It's so scary because he's thinking, like, I don't know who this girl is.
Right.
She slept with someone's husband.
Yeah.
She needs like a beating.
The phrasing,
they were gonna hit her. I know.
The phrasing was not good.
Was great.
I understand, however, to hear that your kid made this very big mistake. However, takes two to tango. And as we know, the viewers, and then not to mention, she was assaulted.
She was assaulted.
It's not that I slept with my teacher, he was married, end of discussion. No, the wife actually came and embarrassed and assaulted me in front of everyone at my dorm. Like, I cannot walk in that dorm without anyone saying like, oh my God, that's Julie Taylor. She's the supposed slut that slept with the TA. But like, they're going to go on and on for, until they're forgetting whatever else happens in the next party. Someone's going to do some stupid shit. But she is so frozen in her fear. Like, she cannot go. And hearing that come out of your child, whether she made a mistake or not, you need to deal with that first. You need to talk to her about why it's so scary to go back. Listen to me. I cannot physically walk back into this dorm because I'm going to be embarrassed as all hell.
It's trauma.
So much trauma.
We need to heal from that. Right. And I understand taking accountability. I also don't understand if she decided to go to a community college.
Right.
Listen, I'm not a parent, so maybe that's me being naive and being like, oh, you're just giving into your kid and letting them control the narrative.
But also, I feel like that's selfish.
It is selfish. And again, she's a freshman. We've been there for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
She said, "Oh, we're studying for midterms."
Know, that
I'm
was
like,
weird.
midterms already?
That was weird because I feel like we were
well, midterms.
Really? Already?
I don't know. Like the semester is shorter than you think, right? Like it's September to like December.
That is true.
So maybe
yeah,
we were first week in October, right? Something. I don't know.
Even still, even if we transferred, it's still okay.
It's still okay.
Still okay.
And I get they don't want her to give up on this dream, but it's like it wasn't like this was her like dream school, dream opportunity. Like she wanted to do Habitat for Humanity. She doesn't know who she is. Right. And that's okay.
Right.
She'll figure it out one day, but she needs to go through the steps of figuring it out. And while I understand a lot of kids, maybe first semester they come home because they're like, I actually do not want to do this.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. I mean, it happened to, a bunch of people I know. They decide to come home and go to a community school or go to a school that's just locally, stay home, and then maybe they decide to go back and transfer.
Yep.
They don't know. How could you possibly know at 18 years old? So I felt like I did not like the way they handled the going back. They should have had a serious discussion with her. She's hurting.
Yeah. Like they started off good. And then we just like really we're not processing.
It started good.
And Tammy, who's a guidance counselor,
right?
We're not knocking the parenting. It's just weird. And the way Eric reacted didn't surprise me.
Yeah, he's much more hot-headed.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after the game, which coach is late to because of all this situation.
But as he should be. You need to deal with your child.
As he should be, which was good. I'm glad he was late for the game because even Tammy's like, you got to get to the game. But after the game, he comes home. Tammy's asleep on the couch. Gracie Bell's in bed. He sits, next to Gracie Bell. And Julie walks in and she says, I didn't mean to disappoint you.
Right. Like, those are the words.
You know it. She's not a bad kid.
She's not a bad kid. He's like, I don't recognize her. I'm like, we've heard this before.
We've heard it.
We've heard this before from you, coach. Like, you need to understand your child is developing into the person she will be for the rest of her life. She's allowed to make mistakes. She does think she's made
18,
plenty. Right.
18.
And is she harming someone else? I mean, yes, because this person was married. However, that's on him. Anyway, he's an adult. This is the one you should be mad at. We keep saying this. While she made a mistake, it was a mistake, and that was it. She doesn't need to be embarrassed any further. He's the one who should be embarrassed.
I agree. And maybe we could have had a family meeting of like, okay, well, if you have to go back, let's get you transferred out.
Right, like we'll protect you.
Let's handle this situation where you're comfortable. I understand you have to take responsibility. We do want you to pay me back for the car, but let's get you therapy. I don't know.
You're absolutely right.
Many conversations
we should have had a conversation where they said, "What can we do further now to help you be able to go back to this school?"
Yeah,
and if you truly feel like you cannot, then that's another discussion.
I agree,
but they did it. I don't.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. Kennard's back.
Yeah,
like he needs his $5,000, and he tells Vince that he has 2 days to come up with the money. So obviously Vince doesn't have it, and Jess suggests, "Why don't you go to coach? Why don't you go to the police? Like we need to talk to someone." And Vince keeps saying, "We can't do that. We definitely can't go to the cops because then we got to tell them about Calvin, and then I'm involved. Like that's a definite no."
Yeah.
And so while Jess is at work, she's throwing out the garbage, and Kennard approaches her, assaults her too.
Yeah.
And threatens her and says, if I don't get my money, this place would burn nicely.
Yeah. Well, lots of gasoline.
Lots of gasoline. It would go up pretty quickly. And so Jess goes back and she tells Vince about Kennard. And of course, he's seeing steam coming out, which I don't blame him because his girl was just assaulted. And we're dealing with this guy again.
Yeah.
And so now Jess is like, we really need to go to the cops. And Vince is like, no, I'll take care of it. Just lock the doors. And so we see Vince show up to Coach's house. And so we think he's going to go talk to Coach, but he actually ends up going to his dad.
Yeah, he turns around. And because his dad, like I said last week, his dad understands. His dad apparently is the big man on campus here. So I think that was a smart move.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the quickest move to do.
Absolutely.
Right. And so Ornette has Kennard meet him outside the Lions game, which, like, why did we do this outside the bleachers? But whatever.
I feel like couldn't the cops, and now I'm ignorant to this, but couldn't the cops have made like a deal with Vince? If you tell me where Kennard is, you're like essentially free of some sort of punishment, you know, because
Maybe
Kennard is like the ringleader of it. You know, Vince is underage.
I bet as a young black man that probably wouldn't work.
You're absolutely right. You're
I
absolutely right.
I don't know. And also, I think there's so much baggage behind it of what Vince did. Vince was also on probation, right?
Yeah.
And that's how, like, being on the football team.
Right. Like that was his last shot. I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so scary that he has no way of getting out of it.
Right. And so Ornette essentially beats the shit out of Kennard, takes his gun, and says, if you ever mess with me or mine, like, I'll end you.
Can you confirm if Kennard's on the island?
He's on the island.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, while you could still have his other guys maybe come after Vince.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like Ornette's story is so like we just love him now.
Oh, no.
The episode.
He did. But I don't trust it. You know, I know there's still more to come.
Yeah.
I just was happy. I'm over that. We can deal with family drama. I don't want to deal with like the kid being in danger.
Yeah. And so after the game, they're all celebrating and they're having dinner. We have the Merriweathers and the Howards and they're eating pie. And Ornette is all happy. He's like on his third piece. And Vince comes in after the game and he's like, Dad, like Pop. I think he calls him like Pop. We gotta talk about the situation. He's like, no, I gotta handle it.
That's done. No more situation.
It's all good.
You go just play your football.
You good. That's all you have to focus on.
It's crazy.
It's great. And we have a great family scene and little Caleb asks Ornette what jail is like.
And I was happy that he spoke very candidly about it.
He did.
Didn't like sugarcoat it.
I hope
it's somewhere you
sugarcoat your time in jail.
I would hope not. But like just scare the kid, be like, no, you need to stay on the right side of the track. Don't end up like me.
And also I was super sad and you can't see your loved ones.
Right. It was also a good way for him to kind of explain to his wife and son, like, I was miserable. Don't think it was no, I'm sure they didn't think it was this like excellent experience for him, but like he knew he was in there because he needed to be in there.
Yeah.
And while it killed him, he had a lot of reflection.
Yeah. Well, that's our summary.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby.
That was short. That felt like, I mean, I guess not a ton of things.
Well, we'll get into more with our questions and comments, and we have our patron Will joining us. He's the one who does Football Poetry Corner every single week since the beginning of time. So we're so excited.
Have we had him on Talkin Texas? This is amazing.
Yeah.
So excited.
So excited. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Welcome back from break. We have Will with us. Will, Football Poetry Corner. Will.
The one and only.
From Japan right now. Hi, Will.
Hey, ladies.
This is so exciting.
I was in Japan. It's 9:30 here, so good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, and hopefully when people listen, it's also morning, so this is perfect.
Yeah.
Good morning.
There we go. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm so good. I've been here for a year. I'm ready to go home. I miss good Mexican food. I miss my dogs. And I have a new job in the US near my hometown. So I'll be teaching English and English lit, and then I'll be coaching basketball. So starting late August, I'll be super, super busy until June. So this is kind of my last hurrah before I have to put my nose to the grindstone.
Wow.
Well, we're honored that you came on.
I know. I'm so glad. And I'm so glad you got to
I miss you guys.
Oh, we miss you.
It's been a year. It's been at least a year since we were on a podcast together. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And also, but that being said, like you're so consistent with sending your Will's Football Poetry Corner every week. So truly, like, thank you so much.
Amazing. I mean, I started Total Betty. This is 3 years since I started Total Betty because it was 2020 pandemic summer. I started listening to 3 Gossip Girls. You were like just finishing the OC, so I hopped on the very last like main OC episode, the parents episode.
That was yours.
And then I've been waiting for Friday Night Lights, and I think I've won it like twice. And you guys have very understandably been like, yeah, we can't move our schedule. We're busy too. And I'm like, well, crap. So finally I found a day off and I can do it. And I'm so excited.
We're so
so excited. So excited.
So Will, we're on our last season. Here we are. Are you liking season 5 of Friday Night Lights?
I love season 5. Besides Julie, which I feel like they're kind of pulling a Jenny from Gossip Girl here, where they're just underwriting her character. They're using all the cliches, or like Chuck season 4 Gossip Girl, or like Seth season 4 OC, where it's just like they're kind of mailing it in on one character and it's super obvious.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's great though. Love Luke, love Vince, especially Vince's dad this episode. Like, I was just waiting for him to get into business with Kennard, and he ended up, defending his son. And I think that's like something that I just is something that's really redeeming about this episode. Like those types of things.
Yeah. So you sent over one question. You sent over a bunch of thoughts for this episode that you wanted to discuss. But did you want to go into that particular question first, or did you have any other questions to discuss beforehand?
Yeah. So I guess, I'll go into that question first. So I think my question was that I felt the whole kingmaker aspect was just totally underutilized. And the kids put up the newspaper at the beginning and the football stands. But other than that, there's like no real function or even mention of Kingmaker in the last 2/3 of the episode. So I'm wondering if you guys would pick that up, or like what you think about that.
Yeah, I thought that was quite random. And the term kingmaker also rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, why that out of all other things we could call coach? And then for them to not really talk about it. And I'm sure we're probably never going to talk about it ever again if I had to assume.
Yeah, like to me, he's just the molder of men, which we have said
molder of men. That would have been it.
But Kingmaker, that kind of threw me too.
The Kingmaker's like either you're rich and you can like make things happen for people, or you're like the man. And like, I don't know. I feel like that's just not Coach Taylor's like MO or his vibe at all.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't think he chose that, obviously, because he wants nothing to do with that article. So I think he probably felt kind of weird by that term too.
Yeah.
Also, if I were the football players, I would be scared shitless if we were all like, okay, we're all gonna hold up newspapers and totally kind of like, it's kind of a joke. Like, Coach Taylor, that like he's gonna make their dreams come true and make them run till they puke, basically. So why are you like? It's like you're poking the bear.
Yeah.
Why poke the bear? I don't know.
Yeah. Gotta have fun, I guess.
Yeah.
Kids will be kids.
Did you have any other questions?
I do. So I feel like everyone on the Total Betty Patreon network, we all have our stands for each of the shows that we have. And my stand is Buddy Garrity. He is my favorite character every single season, even when he's a deplorable asshole, even when he's screwing up Coach Taylor's things, even when he's a bad husband. There's something about the man. He's like kind of that, like, he has that fatal flaw. He has that like Achilles heel, but it makes him so endearing, and I love him. I wanted to know, looking back on the 5 seasons, I know some, like both of you have been kind of up and down on Buddy, but like, I want you, for my own pleasure, to make the case for Buddy Garrity as like a really great character on Friday Night Lights. Like, what things can you pull from his character that make him really good for the show?
Well, I mean, I think Liz needs to marinate on what you just dropped.
This is gonna be difficult.
But like, I enjoy Buddy. Like, I think he is a pivotal part of Friday Night Lights, and I enjoy his character. Of course, he's made some choice decisions that I didn't necessarily agree with, but he makes me laugh, and I think he's trying his best. And I love when he left the Panthers to become a Lion. So I highly enjoy Buddy, but Lissy.
It's not that I don't enjoy Buddy. I do. I don't think he'll ever be my favorite character like yours will. I do enjoy in the latter seasons when he is on, it is more comical, kind of like Billy, you know, like when you watch it, you're like, oh, Buddy's gonna get into some shit. Like, you know, not to take it seriously. And I do like that he is now having a relationship with his one child at least. And I like that he decided to leave the Panthers after all those years and follow coach. And you know, he's a businessman at heart. That's really how he's and that and football, it's really all it comes down to is he loves football. It's football for life. He's never going to see anything but football.
Yeah.
And this show's about football.
Flaw.
He's the number one person who loves football in a show about football. It's like
absolutely
he's almost like the Julie Cooper of Friday Night Lights. Like Julie Cooper is the one who loves the OC lifestyle more than anybody.
You're right.
And Buddy loves the Friday Night Lights lifestyle more than anybody. And
Absolutely.
Blair loves the Gossip Girl lifestyle more than anybody. And so those are the characters that are like really like magnetic. And they also are the ones who have like some of the biggest arcs in the show. And I think that kind of speaks to kind of the importance of Buddy in a show where Coach Taylor, Matt Saracen, Lila, obviously Riggins, they're all like the main pieces. But for some reason, Buddy is the one that always sticks with me in the show. And, you know, he's got that voodoo working.
You know what I was thinking while you were saying that too? I'm like, I feel as though that is Dan Scott with Tree Hill. Yes. Like he is made to be in Tree Hill.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great question, Will.
Okay. I just wanted to hear. Yeah. I was
just a little surprised.
Yeah.
I was very surprised. Yeah.
That's great. Any other questions, Will?
Yeah. I guess another question I have is when you're looking back on, let's just say season 2. Season 2 was the second season of West Dillon. And this is the second season of East Dillon. Do you see any parallels or like major differences between how they set up season 2 and how they set up season 5?
That's a great question.
Right. I feel like season 1 and season 4 were very parallel.
Yeah.
Season 2, you know, the wacky one.
Yeah, the writer strike season.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you feel like they're parallels too?
Yeah, what do you think, Will?
I think season 2 is like, I think they were trying to put some like new flavor. They put some new players in the mix, but the new players were like integral, while as like Hastings is not integral to what's going on.
Yeah.
Like some of the players were, especially the guy that Buddy took in. What's his name?
Oh, Santiago.
I love Santiago.
I loved him.
Yeah, I think Santiago was a much bigger role, and Hastings is just like kind of these like half hippie, half just dumb boyish like one-liners. That's all he's good for.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he adds any depth to the show at all.
Nothing.
But you know, the one character who's very season 2 is Julie. Julie is like with the sweets. She's right up season 2's alley. And so I think that there's something about that like that's what made me think of the question is that Julie is so similar and it's the second year but like I think everything else is different. I mean, they won the state championship in the first season and they're undefeated right now. And they sucked last year. So that's a little bit of a difference too, is that they're on the come up, not kind of the slow descent into, you know, Coach Taylor ultimately. And I mean, Coach Taylor left the team.
Yeah.
And came back in the beginning of season 2. So there's a lot of differences. I was just mainly thinking about Julie and then the Hastings Santiago character.
Yeah. I feel like Julie, she's equally as messy.
Yeah.
However, she is not so attitude-y. She was very like defiant about her choices in season 2, obviously because we know Gracie Bell was coming into the picture and her dad was gone. Like those factors played a huge part into her attitude, which was very understandable. This time around, it's more internal with her. She knows she fucked up, and this whole entire situation is so messed up.
Yeah.
And how did you feel about the way her parents handled it? Because Michelle and I have
I would
a lot of
issues. Let's go into talking about this episode. We're both dying to hear how you felt about that. And most everybody who wrote into us had some choice words about the parents' reaction.
Yeah, so I actually thought Tammy was so reserved, where she usually steps up and she says, "What the hell are you doing, Julie? This is not how she uses either like, this is not how a woman acts, or this is not how we act in our family, or this is not how I raise you to be." And she seemed very kind of like second to Coach Taylor in this one, where sometimes she tells Coach to step back and she'll handle it, or her rage just bubbles up to the surface far past Coach's. But I think Coach was the one who, I feel like, that the most important moment of this episode in relation to Julie is that very last shot where he's looking at Gracie Bell. And I'm thinking in my head, he's wondering if Gracie Bell is going to do the same stuff that Julie's doing right now.
Right, in a
like
sense.
if this is where she's headed for. And I think in that sense, it's both, he's looking back on his parenting and he's saying, how would I react if I had a second chance at dealing with this situation right now? Which means I think he's being really self-reflective. So even if he's being a little loud, a little brash, I do think that he has her best interests at heart, because even though he's mad at her at first, his next thought is like, well, someone hurt my baby, someone hurt my daughter. I have to go, do something to him. And even though that's not a super healthy impulse, he truly cares about Julie. And of all the parents in the show, there's a lot of parents who don't give a shit about their kid, or just don't have any parenting skills, even if they love their kid. And I don't know. I feel like I don't give Coach Taylor and Tammy that much grief for their parenting, because they do so much parenting as opposed to so many other parents who don't do the work. I mean, really, the only parent who I think is up to their level, and probably even maybe a little bit better, is Smash's mom. That's about it.
Yeah, Corinna.
So,
definitely. She's
Corinna.
Probably right up there with them in parenting.
So what did the patrons say about their parenting this episode?
Well, we had Kate write in and Rihanna, who kind of felt the same way we did, of almost like they should have handled the situation differently. We feel that as though in the beginning they were more compassionate.
Yeah, understood it a little bit, and then as it went on,
right.
Not so much.
Not so much of like trying to force her back, like instead of having the conversation of like, yes, you have to own up to what you did, but let's have a discussion about maybe we can make this experience better. Maybe we can transfer you out of this class. Maybe we can
transfer you out of the dorm.
Yeah. And just the fact of like, hey, yes, Julie, you slept with someone's husband, but hey, this TA took advantage of you, and also his wife assaulted.
Right.
So not cool.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like she said those things to Tammy, right? Like, I slept with a married man, but his wife came and slapped me. And it's almost like they don't even hear that part.
Right.
It's just, you slept with a married man.
Yeah.
And at first it seemed like they were going in the right direction. And then towards the end, when they were forcing her to go back to school with not really thinking about actually what truly happened.
Right.
Yeah. Here's the one thing I think about that is, I think there's a level to which you can look at each individual action somebody does and you're trying to like have them do better, or you're trying to parent them. And there's some things where like you have to intervene. You have to say, hey, like, you're not in the wrong. You did something bad, but they shouldn't have done that. But I think that slap of Julie was not just a physical slap, but also like a metaphorical slap. Like, she needed to wake up and smell the roses, and like, you're not a kid anymore. You're an adult. Your consequences have actions. You need to, even if obviously the slap is not warranted, you don't deserve a slap, even if you slept with her husband. That's not something you deserve. But it's almost like maybe at some point she needed to get metaphorically slapped, not physically slapped, like metaphorically shook into a space of like grow up, Julie, and stop being coddled and figure it out. And so I think that there's something to where maybe the parents realize that even though the physical act was not okay, that like the lessons she'll derive from it and like just the wake up call might be worth like not validating, saying like you're totally in the right. Like maybe she needed to be like, oh shit, like just like sit in it without any validation, like either way.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. A lot of our listeners also wanted to know, have you ever done anything extreme to avoid having to do something you didn't want to do? I mean, I've never crashed a car just to get out of something, but
I have to say, like, I'm a pretty straightforward, honest person, especially with people I know. But if I don't like someone, and I had someone who like really, really wanted me to do something for them, and it was like do this big favor and like fly out somewhere, and I just did like a little lie, like I can't do it because of this thing. And then it turned out to be some elaborate thing where they're like checking the facts with a friend who I said I was with, and it was a whole thing. So I like spun a web of lies over multiple weeks, and the person called me out on it. And basically I was like, yeah, you were acting like a total ass. I didn't want to do something for you. So I made all these elaborate lies. And then we didn't talk for like 6 months. So that's probably the biggest thing I've done to avoid something.
Wow.
But otherwise, like, I don't think I'm pretty like, I like myself enough to not like crash a car, I think.
Right.
Which not saying she doesn't like herself, but like, I just feel like I don't want to do like something like destructive. I'm not a very like destructive personality in that way.
Yeah.
Just
same.
to do something like that.
Yeah, and she really didn't think that through.
No.
She looked at it and was like,
okay, here we go.
Because she didn't know what else to do because she was petrified.
Yeah.
It was very melodramatic though. That's like a daytime special. Like, what is Jenny doing? Like, you need to talk to Jenny. She just or like Seventh Heaven. Like, there's that guy on Instagram. There's the guy on Instagram Reels who like
rewatches
just, like, recaps the insanity of Seventh Heaven, like plot lines. And I feel like that's like he could do an episode or like a little short video just on this like Julie plot line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Rihanna wants to know, why would TMU not want Luke this year and have Vince next year?
Right.
2 words. White running back. So there's a limited amount of scholarships, and the percentage of running backs that are white that start on D1 teams, especially in Texas, I mean, it's like 1%, 2%. And it's just like Vince has the athletic capability, and he's shown that he could be consistent over a year and a half after not playing football for a while. And I feel like programs, especially Luke and Vince, are not like Smash Williams. They're not like, they're probably top 500 prospects, but they're not top 100. They don't have 15 offers already. Now Vince got a couple offers here, but like when you're kind of going lower on the list of prospects, you're looking for athletic potential. And Luke is tough, but I don't think he's shown to even be as athletic as Riggins, who was getting some looks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So if you're not getting as much kind of like shine, and if you're only getting kind of approached by one school, that means that like you're obviously a great football player, but you are not like worthy of going ahead of someone like Vince, who just has all the athletic tools, even though Michael B. Jordan is really short, and they don't talk about how short of a quarterback Vince is. Like, that's not in the discussion, but like, that's a really big thing.
Yeah.
That he's such a short quarterback. We haven't talked about that as a storyline. You'd think that would be mentioned at some point.
And it's funny because they told Smash that he was too short.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah, as a running back, which there's running backs in the NFL that are 5'6". So I don't understand.
Interesting.
Short.
Lisa says, what are the chances Becky decides to start stripping? Now, Lisa's a newbie. That would be classic. Tim gets out of jail, goes to the landing strip, and bam! There's Becky on the stage.
So true, Lisa.
What would Becky's stripper name be? That's my first question.
I don't even want to know, to be honest.
It'd be something like Curly, because her hair.
Curly Q.
Yeah, Curly Q. Or something with
Susie
pageant.
Q.
Or pageant. Susie Q is cute.
I love that movie, Susie Q.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the song Susie Q.
Susie Q. Love it.
Yes. Vic wants to know, have you ever done a war cry?
Oh yeah. So actually I have a funny story. So me and my friends, like in November, we went to this beach cleanup in a small coastal town in Japan. And it's like there was like an impromptu skateboarding like exhibition and all the kids came out on their skateboards and there's like these little like self-made ramps and stuff. And it's like a local community event. And one of the things is I live in a place where there's this huge mountain range that's like really close to the sea. And so we all, you all go to the mountain range and you can see it from the sea. And so we're looking up at the mountain and they suddenly start, like the MC of the event starts calling people to yell to the mountain and do like a war yell to the mountain. And you're supposed to call the gods forth from the mountain to help you or whatever. And I won the best yell, and I won like a North Face T-shirt for it.
Nice.
So I've been told that I have a pretty good work rate.
Hey, that's pretty awesome. I mean, I've definitely yelled out of frustration.
Absolutely.
Like, yelled in unison, but never won anything for it.
No, same.
That's pretty great.
It's one of my. It's like a very specific skill that I can't use in any other forum, but to the one time I needed it.
That sounds like a Studio Ghibli movie.
Yeah,
just going to yell to the mountain.
Yeah,
that's pretty great. Mike has some questions for you. Who do you ship more, Julie and Derek or Dan and Miss Carr?
Oh, come on now, Mike. Was he here for Three Gossip Girls?
Yeah, he was here.
I think he's being a little trolly.
Dan and Miss Carr. That's one of the hottest. I mean, with the caveat that it's an 18-year-old student, legal, and a teacher, which is still creepy, but like that's hot.
And she was also really like super young.
She's so young.
She was like fresh out of school.
Miss Carr is my type.
Cute. Yeah, she's hot.
Like Miss Carr is my type, so
she can get it.
That was a tough one.
Do you think Maureen would fit in Dylan? Do you think she was a rally girl in high school?
Oh, are you kidding me? She should be married to Joe McCoy. She's Joe McCoy's second wife.
Yeah.
And she's like an oil baron. And Joe McCoy's like using her influence to buy JD's way into like some like elite camp or like some big time school. Yeah.
I love it.
Yes.
That's happening in a heartbeat.
Yeah. If Total Betty Podcast Network had hazing for new members, what would it be and why is the answer to watch Clueless? And then he sent an email, no, it's really Riverpod.
Yeah.
Watch Riverdale, listen to Riverpod.
That's so
I never
amazing.
did Riverpod. I think
you're missing out.
You know what I think the hazing is that
Mike's a troll to you? Is that the hazing?
Yeah, Mike's
a
your
troll to you. Or you know what? I love when you did the Tish like t t t t t t t t t sound. But I can handle maybe 5 or 6 seconds of it. But if you put that on loop for hours and hours, like the t t t t t t t t, you would like
Michelle
have a
and I would lose it. Michelle and I don't like repetitive noises like that.
Yeah, no. Okay, I love that.
That's great.
That's the sound. Like too long. Too long. That's hysterical.
Oh, gee.
What a throwback.
What a throwback. If you know, please let us
know.
If you're listening and you know that, let us know because that's fun.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
I've made Total Betty historian, so I have to keep the facts alive.
Thank you. Because we for sure hell won't remember them.
No, I don't remember shit. And you all know that.
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Let's go into quotes. Will, did you have a favorite quote from this episode?
I have three quotes, so hopefully I don't step on them. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, first quote. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do my first quote because I think that you guys are going to do it. Okay. It's a quote from Jess, but I'll do 2 Billy quotes.
Okay.
Yeah, I took a dump in your mailbox once.
So
and then,
was it? I'm sure it was.
Then, that's a war cry, mofo.
Yeah, I also had that's a war cry, mofo. And then live the dream.
Yeah.
I had rhinestones make me look trashy, Mindy. She's a level.
They make everyone look trashy, you know?
Yeah. Coach Corner, what was your favorite coaching moment in this episode, Will?
Oh, actually, sorry. I have one more quote since you didn't say it. Just that try not to trip over your ego when you're running.
I love
that
that
was so
too.
good. So
Love that one.
good. Yeah.
I love
Okay.
it so much.
Did you have a favorite coaching moment?
Favorite coaching moment. You know what? I think that there's something. So I just did a bunch of training for like being a coach. Like you have to get certified to be a coach before you can coach kids in Oregon, and or at least on the high school level. And they say not to use conditioning as like a punishment. Um, but I don't think you should do it every time. But like, I think that there's something, I think coach hits the right buttons when it comes to like when to push his team and when to like tell them to shape up. And so I think the best coaching moment is knowing when to celebrate and knowing when to push. Like they just had this great game and they stayed at a nice hotel. There was a pool party, pretty luxurious for a Friday night football game. And so I like that he's kind of bringing them back to earth by telling them to run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
What'd you have?
I had Tammy actually trying to keep Coach cool when he was freaking out.
Okay.
She's like, well, let's just talk about this for a second.
I love that.
So
I like
thought
that.
she handled him well.
I actually chose Billy with Luke
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah,
taking
that's
him
probably
under
the
his
best one.
wing and the mofo war cry and telling him you gotta find the joy again and play with your heart. I really love that.
Or how about Mindy telling Becky to get
I
on that
know.
saddle and ride?
She's
We love our
blunt.
Riggins parenting.
Yeah.
MVP and shittiest. Who's your MVP for this episode, Will?
Okay, MVP is Billy. He really showed some dad skills and he had killer quotes all episode. Blue ribbon to Vince's dad. He's turning it around.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was a toss up between Tammy and Billy.
Nice.
So Tilly.
Yeah, I love. Oh, Tilly's cute.
It is cute.
I chose Billy. We had Billy Mindy across the board, and we had Billy just by himself. Shittiest. Will, who's your shittiest?
Sometimes, as you know, when I write in MVP shittiest, I kind of get on these streaks where I just a character is so insufferable that I do them every week. And it's Julie again because she's being really destructive, pushing her parents to their limits of like what they can actually do to help her. And she needs to move on the path towards adulthood. But the number one thing she says is, I want to escape to Europe, like she's Chuck Bass or something. So I was like, yeah, honey, your mom just lost $100,000 or $80,000 job, and now she took a huge pay cut. Your father is a high school football coach. I'm not sure that they have Prague in the budget for you.
It's true.
It's so
This is true. Yeah, she clearly wasn't thinking with a rational mind. She just was like, I need to get wherever is not here.
Yeah. It was so naive to think that way.
It's very naive.
I can understand it. Who'd you pick?
I can understand it, but I'm done.
Yeah.
I picked Kennard.
That's who I chose.
Cop out, honestly.
I don't view Julie as being shitty. I don't agree with her actions, but I'm really feeling for her, so I just couldn't give her the shitty.
Yeah. Well,
title.
I don't enjoy this whatsoever.
No,
I'm like, well, it's not really.
I feel like it's kind of like, there's some shittiest where it's like there's an inciting incident.
Yeah.
That's shitty. But I feel like this is like a Fallout shittiest. Like we're still seeing like the kind of like reverb of the shittiest. And I just can't get over the reverb. I'm still hearing it. Because I agree with you. Like I am compassionate towards her trying to figure it out and trying to, being lost. Everyone's lost. I've been lost before. But like there's a certain self-destructiveness and also like a disregard for like not wanting to hear her parents. At the very end of the episode, she goes, I'm sorry for being so shitty to her dad at the very last quote. But like, that's not enough. Like, you need to fucking figure it out. And maybe it's not this episode, but that's still shittiest to me that she hasn't moved on the path to figuring it out.
Yeah. Right. Like, I'm disappointed that this is what we're doing with her so late in the game. So late already now in the season. Like we're gonna be halfway very soon. And I feel like what's the rest of the season hold for her? I don't want it to be wrapped up in this drama. I want to see her flourish and figure out what she wants to do and who she is, and without a boy.
Give her some proud ownership of herself.
Right. Like, let her be proud. Yeah, like proud of herself and happy with the way things are going. And
she's so
just
smart,
be confident.
too.
Yeah.
Like, let's give her something.
It's just such a downer.
It is.
Yeah.
What's not a downer, though, is our lion booster.
Oh.
That was like a purr. I can't
Well,
roll
that
my
wasn't.
that was like actually choking. But spoiler alert, I mean, obviously, how do I not give it to Will? Because
Me?
Will, yeah, you came from but like you literally are chatting to us the next day in the morning, right before a concert. Like we're just very honored.
Yeah.
And so happy that you continue to send your special poems every week.
Yes.
And we
So
just love you.
Part of I mean, it's weird to say, not to get all sentimental, but you two and Inkrin for a little bit, and all the Patreons, especially all the active ones, Vic, Mike, everyone, shout out.
Shout out.
That like you guys have been part of my life, and there's very few things I think in a world that's so rapidly changing and unstable where you can say like without being forced. I don't have to talk to you. I could go dark and never talk to you again, and you could go dark and never talk to me again. But we actively make the choice every day to stay in each other's lives. And that includes all the Patreons and everyone. And I think that that shows like just the spirit of human connection and love. And it's just great. I just love it. So I'm always in for it.
So sweet.
Yeah. 100% agree.
Yeah.
Everyone, the community is the best. They're the best part of the
that's why we do it.
Yep.
Because listen, I could podcast and talk about the shows, but if no one listened and no one participated and we'd have a community of people,
what would it be for? Yeah.
What would it be for?
Yeah.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Will.
We appreciate you. So an emoji for this week, Liz and I came to the same light bulb moment at the same time, and we're choosing the emoji. It's like the blue shadow that's yelling.
Yeah. For like the war cry.
So the war cry.
Sure.
Yeah. So what you can So what you can do is you could drop that emoji in an Apple Podcast review. We haven't had a Lion of the Week since like the beginning of the season.
Lame.
Y'all, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving us a review and rating us 5 stars. Drop that emoji. Just be like, this podcast rules. Yo. War cry. This is my war cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can send it in the DMs on Instagram. A bunch of you do that. And also in the emails and on Patreon and Discord. We appreciate you so much.
Shout them out. They do all the work. Shout them out.
Yeah. Thanks. All right, Liz, I'm going to give you the title for next week. This season 5, episode 7, Perfect Record is the title.
Okay.
And the quote for you is, "How you doing? Sorry I'm late. Hey, Coach Taylor."
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tim Riggins. I don't know why. It just seems like a Tim Riggins thing to say. Hey, how are you? Sorry I'm late. Okay.
Well, Coach is saying that to someone.
Someone. Yeah.
I wonder who it could be.
Who could it be?
It could be anybody.
Sure, big one, Liz. Just pick anyone.
It could be a potential future job interview.
Okay.
It could be the school board at the college that Julie is at.
Okay.
It could be to Tammy because he's late for dinner. Could be a lot of things. I'm gonna go with my first choice.
Could be
to Gracie Bell.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a little something. This is a very basic quote. I would not give this to you if it wasn't to. If he was just saying this out of all of the quotes in the episode, if he was just saying this to Tammy, I wouldn't give it to you.
Right. So I feel as though it's very important. Whoever he's apologizing for being a little late to, maybe it's an interview.
Okay. I love
it. That's all I'm going to say.
I love where your head's at.
Because like, what's next for Coach Taylor? We can't end the season with him while, yes, being the coach of the East Dillon Lions is very honorable.
Wait,
I'm sure there's more he wants to do.
What's next for the Kingmaker? What's next for the Kingmaker?
Right, you don't just give someone a title like that and then just like forget about it, you know?
It's next for the Kingmaker. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, and while you told me Kennard is gone, I still feel like obviously Ornette. Is that her name? I was going to call her Ornal. That's not right.
Ornal
is still going to, now that he got his like teeth into that situation. He's going to be like, well, I like the power and I like controlling this. And it's not going to work out for him and Vince, because Vince is going to be so upset that this is how his life is going. Like, don't disappoint me again. You're disappointing me again.
Great job.
And I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but there's like a half racial dynamic of like Coach Taylor saving and I don't think I don't see Coach Taylor as embodying like white savior, but we can look at the dynamic of being like Coach Taylor is white. He's helped Vince out. He's put him in a position. He's acted as a surrogate father. He's held a gun for him. He's got him out of the jail. Whereas his dad's coming back after 5 years and his dad's trying to exert influence. And I think I can't even remember, so this isn't a spoiler. I wonder if there'll be like some like racial-esque tension.
It's possible.
Whereas with Smash had Corinna. So if Coach stepped up in Smash's life, there was still a balance to male-female dynamic.
Absolutely.
And so, but in this case, it's two males kind of vying for kind of the parentage of Vince in some way. And so I think that that's going to be more explosive, and it's going to be harder to figure out than when Coach helped Smash. Because Corinna was just like, your coach knows what's right. Stop being a dumbass. Figure it out. Whereas I think Noah was going to be like talking in his ear, trying to get him to do different things. And it's his right. But at the same time, I think Coach has really helped him in a way that like is stable. And his dad's not stable. So hopefully they can find a way to figure that out. But I don't know. It's a drama. So I don't think they will so well.
Right. And I guess like we were talking earlier in the episode, how Coach is putting so much of his time and effort into Vince as opposed to Luke, who in the beginning he was like, Luke, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And now you can see his time and patience and effort is going into Vince.
Priorities have shifted.
His priority is Vince. And because Vince needs it more, I think that's why he has done that for him. Like
although Luke has had a teen pregnancy, has taken
absolutely
like pain pills, and has hit an injury from his coach. So Luke's definitely not even though I love Luke and he's really kind of like an angel in the 4th of this season.
He really is.
He's definitely damaged and battered a little bit. He's a little dopey. He's a little dopey.
He's got a lot of learning to do. He's very naive.
Yeah.
Which is, if he should be at that age.
Of course. Last but not least, we do have Will's football poetry corner, which I hope you're going to read loud.
I have it.
Okay, great.
I'll read it. All right. Will's football poetry corner. Collision. A collision on the football field pits two people who are moving at full speed and trying to knock the other on their asses with a great tackle against each other. Julie is colliding with life right now as she finds out that she's in a worse place than she thought coming out of high school. Luke pits himself against Vince out of jealousy for the TMU bait and switch that they pulled on his visit, while Vince is pursued by his old running mate for the $5,000 he borrowed, only for his dad to knock Kennard on his ass once and for all.
Nice. Yay! We got one live. Oh, thank you so much, Will. We appreciate you so much. You're so great. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, everyone, for submitting your questions and your comments. Keep them coming. We only have really not that many episodes left of season 5 and this series. So keep that in mind if you're hesitating.
Crazy. Are you guys going to do like some best of episodes and special episodes like that?
We're probably only going to do
have some time.
Yeah, we're probably only going to do the movie.
Yeah, we have some other summer programming stuff.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Lined up.
Well, yeah. So we'll when this series ends in September, we'll come with we'll cover the movie with Movie Friends podcast, the movie podcast that I do with my friend Seth.
Sweet.
And that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, I can't wait because we both have never seen that.
A little crossover action.
And then that's it for Little Talkin Texas Forever. Another one finished.
So I guess Talking Texas for a year and a half.
There you go.
Wow, is that it?
No, it's been longer than that. We started in
2021.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 years. Talkin Texas 2 years.
2 years.
There you go.
The terrible 2 talking I'll work on it.
We'll work on it. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you again, Will.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you.
We so appreciate you. Come back next week when we're talking Perfect Record.